The following stream contains mature content and subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised. Chicago. Ask someone to picture the city, and they will have trouble coming up with a concise description. When people think of New York City, they think of skyscrapers, subways, and muggers. When they think of Los Angeles, they think of sun, smog, and traffic. When they think of Detroit, they think of cars, factories, and decay. But for those of us that know, there's only one thing we think of when someone mentions Chicago: vampires. And tonight, we tell their story. Good evening, lords and ladies of the congregation. Tonight, I am the special guest speaker. You can call me Brother Twitch. I am here to give you a sermon. Now, not the normal kind of sermon we usually do. No, tonight is a sermon of the past, of events that have transpired. For the good book does say, you must always look to the past to learn the present. Of course, good evening. I hope you can hear me. It seems like it's working for me, but you will have to find out. Let me fix that. I can adjust. I do see part of the issue. Interesting. Let's see. Does that make things a bit louder for you? That should make me much easier to hear than it was before. You see, there's the problem with doing this out in the woods. I don't normally give my sermons out in the middle of nowhere, and it's sometimes very difficult to make sure that you're heard. Now, I know I don't look like a man of the cloth, but these are the modern nights, and I have found that it really puts people off when I wear my traditional outfit. You don't see many monks in robes anymore, but you see, that is what I am. So where should we start in the history of the past? Well, to learn the proper lessons of the past, let's start with an easy one. You see, it is always very important to know where you come from. It is very important to know who your parents are. And in the case of one person in Chicago, Jacqueline Durand, it seems, well, she found out her son is in the city. Antoine Delacourt. And she has revealed herself to him, explained that she is his mother before embrace. Now, that does leave me a question of, is the embrace a rebirth? She, when you die and come back, is she still his mother? Or is his new family, the Nosferatu, really their parentage? See, that's the kind of moral question that, unfortunately, you must ask yourself. The good book, though it helps, it does not give all the answers. You'll find that as a common theme. And on this night, where Jackie was revealing that she is Antoine's mother, a vision was shared. Now, I know many think the visions and prophecy are the portent of evil. But that is not always the case. You must have an open mind about this, because sometimes there are ways to receive visions that are helpful. And in this particular case, Roscoe was told of a shadow stalking a shard, a splinter, you might say. And though it seemed to confuse the coterie that they are a member of, the confusion did not last long, because down in their club, something stirred, something not of this world, and it was causing members of the club to react in violent ways. There was no turning of the cheek in this particular instance. There was only mass fighting, and in this cover of fighting, a thin blood was discovered and then destroyed by the shadowy form that appeared behind her. You see? Violence beget violence. And sometimes it's not only directed at the ones who started it. Now, we're going to come back to that particular thin blood here shortly, because she factors into another rather horrible event. Let's see, we've covered two of what the history and looking at the past of this coterie. Let's go on to another. Isabella. When we last spoke of her, she had offered sanctuary to fellow kindred, Braden White. And unfortunately, well, that sanctuary never got to come to pass, because he was murdered by Amelia DiCarlo. Murder, so you know, is a sin. So the book says. But it is funny. And let's be truthful while we're in these woods. Though it says it's a sin, how many murders have been committed in its name? I'm not quite sure I would say that that one has been particularly followed, if you understand my meaning. But with the death of Braden, Isabella felt it was on her to notify Sinshaw's sovereign. I would call him Alan, but just saying the name, slimy on my tongue. You want to speak of one who talks with a forked tongue and cloven hoof. You could find no better example than Mr. Sovereign. And when she went to tell Sovereign of this death, well, like the kindred she is, and like the kindred she has been raised to be, she also used it as a chance to increase her own personal holdings, to enter into an agreement with Mr. Sovereign about opening up the goth club that Braden was going to run. It's cold and callous, of course, for her to do that, but that is also very kindred, very Toreador, and, if I must be honest, very shrewd. Fortune favors the bold, and with great risk comes great reward. So, as we return to the subject of the thin blood, You see, for those that have seen my earlier discussions, there was a certain ring that Mr. Nicholas kept, a cursed ring, a ring that may make you hungry for human flesh. You see, he kept it. And when he went to examine this thin blood, something took a hold of him. Without realizing it, he began to consume her organs. Though oddly enough, as he consumed them, he saw visions of what she had done and what had happened. Visions of her addiction to ash. I will say he got through an entire kidney before he realized what he was doing, which is, well, a loss of agency that most kindred would not find comfortable with. You see, we are not squeamish about blood. We are not squeamish about death. But loss of control, not knowing what you did, well, that's different. There seems to be a cat wandering in the woods tonight. Very interesting. I don't know where. So, let's see what to go with next. Oh, Jenny. She went once again to visit Urzule. And in so doing, learned more about what it might be to be well, I think the cult is called Bahari. It's very odd to bring that up, you see, because for many of you, you know the Bible story of Adam and Eve. But a lesser known story among many is that Adam's first wife was a woman named Lilith. Cast out. You see, that is back to the good book. You see, this is the beauty of a sermon about the past. In a sermon in the past, you can discuss these kind of things freely. Let's see, where shall we go from there? What can we talk about? Well, let's talk about this cursed ring. You see, that loss of control, I think, was a wake-up call. Or, excuse me. You see what joins me here in the woods? This is not supposed to be in the woods, this stray. Perhaps I shall eat her tonight. Should I be eating a kitty that joins me in the woods when it is not supposed to? I am hoping the kitty's handler will see what I have. Perhaps. It is hard to discourage. But let's see, where was I? Oh yes, this cursed ring, this ring of cannibalism. This ring of cannibalism. And Nicholas decided after losing control that it was time to get rid of it. Time to not have it. And so he decided to take it to the one place that he knew that the curse could be broken, the one individual powerful enough to handle it. And that individual, of course, is the madam. And so that is what she did. That is one noisy stray cat in the woods with us tonight. So let's see. They take this ring to the madam. And of course, Nicholas gives it to her in exchange for a boon, trade with her, of course, to keep it. But what she wants is them to close the hole they tore in the shroud. You see, when you tear a hole in the shroud, if it doesn't close, for someone who lives in the spirits like she does, things cross and come over that are best kept on their side. And of course, Nicholas, though he is a fool, he is not that big a fool. He agreed that he will close it in exchange for leaving the ring. And see, this is where things get interesting. You see, Mr. Akers, good old Roscoe, has got a stalker that does things that she knows she should not, without thought to the consequences. You see, this is an awakened stalker, what I believe you would call a mage. She followed him to the madam's place, a place that is a bit beyond time and space, where some laws of reality don't apply, and where she is the supreme authority. And by following Roscoe there, she encroached upon a domain of a woman who does not like unplanned visitors. And so Samantha was I can't say arrested, confined by a specter. For those who don't know what a specter it is a very nasty form of spirit. But by taking her and locking a collar on her, the coterie was given a choice. Someone can pay the debt for her freedom, pay for violation of the madam's domain, or Samantha's life is forfeit. Samantha's life is lost. Now, you might think that would mean Roscoe would have taken care of that. But oddly enough, the first to speak up was Jackie. Jackie volunteered to pay the debt for Samantha. You see, for those who don't understand, Jackie will be able to know why she did that. Jackie has very strong feelings about protecting women, protecting the young, protecting the children of the world in some ways. But because of that favor, Samantha got to live. What else did they learn from the madam? I try to avoid her, you see. Many feel she is one of my clan, the clan of the moon, a child of Malkav. But that is a false statement. She is not a child of Malkav. Many centuries ago, her last name was Giovanni, though I don't think it's applicable to call her that now. You see, she has changed. She has twisted. She has become something else. You see, normally when our kind die, we do not become spirits. But in her case, she faced final death and became a ghost of Wraith. And that should have been the end of her, but she did not. She ended up finding a way to become what is called a risen, to bring herself back. So she is a vampire necromancer who's been to the other side as a spirit and has worked a deal with her own shadow to reconstitute a body. And I say all this because it explains why she does what she does. She lives where she lives, and why so many things are under her purvey. Because Jackie asked a very key question from her trade of information. And that trade of information is about who is the spy that is leaking stuff to the Sabbat, and Amelia DiCarlo specifically. And she was told, in this case, that shadows call to shadows, shadows reach out to shadows. And she should look to the shadows for the one who is the leaker. Let's see. Yes, I may have made a mistake. It may have been Isabella who paid the debt. You see, the problem is with the Madam's area is it is very difficult to see everything that goes on there. Unfortunately, though her tower appears to be located in the city of Chicago, it is not actually there. It is, how can I describe it? A pocket dimension. A chunk of reality carved out where it is. Let's see, where shall we go from there? Oh. So we know that there's a spy in the city helping Amelia DiCarlo and the Sabat. Where shall we go? I'm trying to think of what to go with next. I should probably bring up that the night that they went to the Madam, Jenny's camera caught someone. They caught someone on Jenny's camera outside of her club. Outside of her bar, I should say, her restaurant. My brain is... See, there's the problem with this sermon in the past. It's hard to grasp it all. Outside of her restaurant, there was a figure seen, a hazy individual. And so when they returned to look at the footage, what they saw was odd. It was someone who followed Jackie to Ginny's restaurant. Man wearing what appeared to be a top hat and a cape, though he didn't appear in the camera at all, really. Very unlike most who use that power. He's barely visible, only a vague outline. And then shifted to bat form and flew off. Now, I know it ought to shape changers. Both Gangrel and others. Bat form is something that has fallen out of favor. You see, a giant man-sized bat draws a lot of attention, even in a city, whereas owls and wolves and things are a little less common. And this led Jackie to believe that she had a visitor following her from the old world, which you could say she was right. You see, it turns out that Antoine is not the only child of a particular Nosferatu named Andre who was in the city. Francois, or as he goes by now, Francis, is also in the city. That is, of course, broodmate to Antoine. Hatchet man, bully boy to Andre himself. Jackie finally meets with Francois and finds out Andre is on the way. So we have Jackie who finds out her child is in the city and a kindred. She made an agreement with the Nosferatu to never embrace her child, to protect him, watch over him, but do not give him this curse. And this particular Nosferatu ignored their deal, ignored what they said. And of course, embraced him, hid him from her. And now he's in the city along with Francois. And now coming to the city. There is a history, you see, between Andre and Jackie. A history that I don't feel the time is right to fully reveal. We are talking the past, but as in many kinds, though this is a sermon of the past, you must also look to the future. And there are threads yet to be explored in the future that it's best to save those full discussions until they're done. So as we go from here, let's see, what shall we talk about? Because we can't go too much into Andre yet. We'll get more in it. Let's see. Well, let's address something that was upsetting. You see, Jackie and Jenny decided to meet with a daughter of Malkav, the Archon Dawn Akata. A very interesting clanmate of mine. It is odd, I find, how we all deal with the blessing of our blood in different ways. Some call it a curse. I do not. At least, Brother Twitch does not. It is a blessing. It is why I am here to give this sermon now. It is why I know so much. In my young days, I did not know nearly as much as I do now. So, what shall we say about this meeting with Dawn? You see, Jenny is owed a life boon by Bobby Weatherbottom, and she wishes to get him out of the city, but he is deep under the control of an Archon Dawn Akata, a pragmatic individual who considers themselves more computer than person in a lot of ways. It's all about models and analysis and statistics, charts. And the hope, I believe, was that for Jenny would offer to assist in return for Bobby. And what came out of it is a problem you have often. You see, Archons are picked for many reasons. Some are picked for their ability to do violence. Some are picked for political considerations. Some negotiation skills. Some for investigating. Dawn became what she is solely because of her pure ability to analyze and make a plan, regardless of emotional or mental thoughts on it that might make others squeamish. And so during this meeting, Dawn explained very clearly that Jenny has no choice but to help her take down one Duncan McTavish, or else, well, if Jenny tries to flee rather than help an Archon, the Archon will consider that an offense worthy of death. We shall say this particular Archon does not take no for an answer, which actually led to an interesting question from Jackie. Why would an Archon that is supposed to act without emotion think it's so important to take down one Anarch? Not only that, was the instructions were to take down this Anarch before Tyrus gets hold of him, for the Wolf Pack. Could it be the politics between the two? Could it be other reasons? The other reasons are important because we will also come back to that. You see, as we're going through a sermon of the past, we have to weave many threads into this tapestry that we're doing. That night that Jackie met with Dawn, well, who did Roscoe meet with? He met with Isabella, where they had an interesting talk about what to do with Samantha, this ghoul that stalks him, that is also an awakened mage. You see, why they are useful to have a mage in your corner. This one has done more than one problem that could come back to hurt the coterie. She positively blew up a building full of people. So the discussion, Isabella's suggestion was to ghoul Samantha, because at least if she is bound, she is unable to cause as many problems. Though I will argue, the bond is no solution to many problems, especially if you take someone who is already a stalker, who already thinks they are madly in love with you, and then you hit them with a blood oath, as it was called in my youth. That tends to twist people, make them do stranger things. But as he left Isabella's meeting, He had a very interesting person waiting for him. Mr. Carl Schreck, head of the Presidium Tremere. Based on my experiences with him, congenial asshole. You see, Carl wished to speak with Roscoe at a later date. This was a courtesy call to inform him they will have to speak in detail about the state of this chantry, Sun Chi, and of course, Roscoe's continued existence in Clan Tremere. But much unlike that asshole Victor, who was threats and violence and positive cavalcade of douchebaggery, really, Carl Schreck is very genteel, very pleasant, very conversational. But with every word he says, you can hear the mailed fist behind it. Let's go. Shall we talk about their investigation into the ash finders? The ash that is addicting many thin bloods in the city, and some kind as well. A drug made from the ashed remains of a kindred. Jenny, understanding if it's thin blood related, there is only one person in the city you can really go through for all of your info on thin bloods, and that is, of course, Urzule. Urzule is very interesting. She is another Bahari that runs a bar called the House of Lilith, which I think that's rather too on the nose. But she is a very smart toreador who has learned if you see a segment of society cast off, ostracized, thrown away, and you bring them into your fold, you will end up with a very loyal, a very appreciative army. And so Herzule has reached out to and courted and embraced and helped and sheltered many thin blood in the city. And Jenny was smart to go and ask her about it, because if anyone would know about something thin blood are up to, it should be Urzule. And she was not disappointed in that, for Urzule has dealt with a few that had asked in their system. She has had to eject a member or two of her garden for that, and one in particular had to be destroyed over that. It seems those who take ash begin to see shadows stalking them, things following them, until they go mad, or, as they saw in the club earlier, people around them go mad, and in this shadow thing reclaims them. And while the coterie is still investigating what this is, I've seen what the shadow things are. They are us. Well, part of us. It seems when you concoct ash from the ashes of a dead kindred, you capture a splinter, a fragment of the beast that was in them. And this fragment, somehow, through the process of making their drug, breaks free and becomes a thing that stalks those who use the drug until it reclaims the bits of soul it lost. Is a high worth being stalked by a fragment of a vampire? Oh, that's a different discussion. It is a very important information to know, though. And Urzule is looking into it to try to find a source, you see, because there's been a big problem with finding who's dealing the ash. They seem to have this almost supernatural ability to tell who is a narc and who is a spy, or who is trying to entrap them. Where should we go next? Wow. Roscoe does have a talk with Samantha about ghouling her. And Samantha did say she's thinking on it, though something about their conversation strikes me odd. And the reason I say this is For a mage that is awakened and it's all about reality, her acceptance of the possibility of being bonded does seem odd. Seems very odd. Almost as if she was already being influenced by something to agree with whatever Roscoe says. I wonder what that came from. Wonder when all will be revealed on that. Let's see. We did talk about Dawn, but I said you need to figure out why Dawn does not like the Wolfpack. Well, let's see. Duncan McTavish shoots an Archon in the face. Duncan McTavish survives shooting an Archon in the face. Duncan McTavish still goes free after shooting an Archon and a Camarilla in the face. Duncan McTavish is an anarch who shot an Archon of the Camarilla in the face. You see where this might be a problem for someone like her? But there's actually more than that to it. The Wolfpack is an odd group. Thanks to Jackie's association with Dread, she understands the full scope of it. The Archons of the Wolfpack do not report to a Justicar. And I know many who know our society will say, well, no, but Justicars always appoint Archons and Archons work for Justicars. In this case, this is a group of Archons that were appointed by the tower itself. The Camarilla is their ultimate leash holder, the inner circle, the conclave, you might call it. And for someone who believes in structure, rigid hierarchy, the idea of a group of Archons who do not have a Justicar they report to, but report outside of the normal chain of command, it would be galling. And then to have these Archons, one get shot in the face and to let it pass, to let it slide, to not instantly destroy the one who did it, might cause a bit of a rift between the two. And as I believe I noticed that night, Dredd even explained to Jackie about little Dawn Nakata, all 5 feet of her, in Tyrus's face, screaming and threatening him. Which does not sound like a emotionless response, now does it? Well, if you are going to try to slip out of the woods now, please ask your questions before I destroy you. If you have a question before I continue our summary. Do you wish to know anything before your untimely death in the woods? I believe you said your name was Ebonblade. I will try to answer before I continue. Otherwise, I will, of course, continue, because we have much to go on here tonight. It was a very busy time lately. I guess we shall see if there's questions, but if not, I will go on. It is very nice that she got this from Dread. A maul is a handy thing. Where shall we go now? Yes, let's talk about the cursed cannibal ring. It seems a specter returned the ring to Nicholas, claiming it was not cursed and not part of the deal. And of course, Nicholas was confused. He didn't understand. How could it not be cursed? He ate. Well, he turned cannibal. And then he spoke with the coterie. And Roscoe, being very good at reading items, touched it and invoked his blood, his second sight, his ability to peer into that which cannot be peered into. And he saw that this ring was actually the one that was returned, that was supposedly the cursed ring, was only a few days old. It seemed somebody went to a jeweler and had a copy made, but does not remember having the copy made. Did not know where they had put the cannibal ring. But Jenny having dealt with smugglers many times in her career as a gangrel running casinos and working around the casinos of Vegas, immediately told Nicholas to strip. And there the coterie noticed a lump in the small of Nicholas's back. It seems while he was unaware of making the copy of the ring, he was also unaware of taking the actual cursed ring and implanting it in his body to hide it. It seems the ring had a bigger hold than he thought. And it also took control to try to prevent them from removing it. And it was at this point Nicholas almost made a mistake that could have cost him his own life. You see, while trying to escape and under the control of this cursed ring, he almost unleashed a blood plague on a ghoul by the name of Etienne. Now, for those who have heard me talk before and have watched what is going on, giving Etienne the plague would be detrimental to your health if Jackie finds out. I'd even say it could lead to permanent detriment. Thankfully, he was prevented from doing it and had the ring cut out of him. And after this event, Nicholas even tried to word Etienne that in the event that Nicholas loses control again, not to try to stop him for his own safety. And Etienne explained it quite thoroughly. He will do what he has to protect Jackie. Damn the consequences. You see, Etienne is not just a ghoul, but a friend and bodyguard of Jackie. And there's no way he is going to let someone harm her, even at the cost of himself. Like many ghouls. Though the oddity about that one, you see, many of our ghouls exist under the blood oath. But it seems Jackie has decided that over a century of bonding to Etienne, it is time to test his true loyalty, and has decided to release her blood bond on him. He will stay a ghoul, but she wants to see how he acts when he is free of the blood bond. And though it takes time to work it through its system, very interesting to watch. Where shall we go from here? Well, they took the ring, returned it to the madam. They did head out to that garage out in the middle of nowhere, the place where they found someone sleeping with a giant tooth necklace that appeared to be made of onyx. Another night they lost their memories as they don't remember taking the body out of there or where it went. It is the place where an altar was smashed with a hammer that caused a tear in the shroud, a rip between what we call the real world and what the restless dead call the Shadowlands. So they went to close it. There they fought the guardian of the tear, a wolf made almost of shadow, but more accurate to describe it, made of entropy, of the nothingness that is afterlife, death. And it was during that fight they also had an unexpected visitor. What Amelia de Carlo, a La Sombra, that has threatened to have Isabella die in Nicholas's arms to remind him of his sister. She decided to use this as a chance to attack the coterie. But you see, many La Sombra have never been near a tear in the shroud, a full rip And when you harness the power of oblivion, which is the power of death itself, of entropy itself, what happens when you're in an area where reality and entropy overlap, where the two are indistinguishable from themselves? Well, Amelia DiCarlo now has that answer. You see, even though she was in a form that makes her created out of shadow, she is supposed to be completely in the other realm, other than the after image you see of a shadow moving. She found out the hard way that you can be staked in overlapping reality because Jackie managed to stake a shadow form. And as they closed the rift, the coterie was so glad to have gotten Amelia DiCarlo, only to find out when the rift closed and the realities weren't overlapping, Amelia DiCarlo was still trapped on the other side. You see, while the rift was open, she was in both worlds simultaneously. But because she was staked as a shadow in that shadow world, the staking took hold when the rift closed and she was trapped on the other side. Now, I don't think you understand what happens when one of our kind are trapped in the spirit world, and I don't even know fully. I do know the spirits do not like us. We are leeches on their family. We are something they were denied, continued existence. I'm sure she's not having a good day over there. Let's see, what shall we find out? Talk about. Well, Jackie spoke with Primogen Stewart to do a masterful plan of, you see, Primogen Stewart wants to have her person become mayor instead of the current Toreador pet. So the idea is to create a scandal of such magnitude that not even a Toreador's backing will convince people to vote for this mayor for re-election. And so a plan has been formed between Jackie, Jenny, Isabella, and other members of the coterie to catch the existing mayor in a drug-fueled coke orgy that also has, how can I put this, the police chief and his daughter involved in it. I would like to say that won't be enough to get a mayor not elected, but let's be fair. That should be more than enough scandal. That should solve the mayor and the chief's existence of running things. And in return, Jackie will get her man as police chief, and Primogen Stewart will get her woman as the mayor, and Clan Ventru overall will increase in standing, while Toreador will lose a bit, and lose a bit of their hold. What shall we go from here? For those who remember Lamar's his departing, his trip out to LA, he had said for someone to take care of Father Jeff. I think he should have been more specific about take care. You see, for the coterie decided they will take care. Or should I say, take care of him. Because Jenny and Roscoe and the ghoul Tasha went out to visit Father Jeff. Found out this priest was also a drug dealer who used the congregation to find vulnerable children, teenagers, to get them to go and sell his drug. You say ASMR. No. You see, for some things, it's not about the sound. Some things should never be said when you're shining in light. Some statements are best talked about when you are wreathed in darkness. So what did we find with Father Jeff, other than he is a scumbag drug dealer? We found out Tasha Young Tasha, saved by Jenny from Cratius, has a dark side, a violent side, a troubling upbringing at times. And Jenny got to see her unleash that anger on a priest that exploits the young around. We shall say, I am afraid Father Jeff will no longer be taking confessions unless he takes them in the fires of hell. So many things that went on. I'm trying to remember them all. Here's an important thing. Always be careful that you see what you think you see. Sometimes looks are deceiving. Jackie and Nicholas saw Zhao being abducted and drug into a cemetery. Now, I'm sure this cemetery is not hollowed ground. I have found there's not much of that left anymore. But when they pursued to try to help Zhao, they found the pursuers became, well, trapped. Because it was not Zhao. It turned out to have been some spirits, some wraiths, who were luring the two of them in to ask questions. They wished to know whether Nicholas was a Giovanni, descendant of Augustus Giovanni. It seems there are a number of spirits in the city who are very upset at some sort of experiment the Giovanni were doing, an experiment that, by what the spirit said, destroyed the souls of the dead to give power to the kindred who did it. This is also where Jackie has begun to suspect that Zal is not as innocent as she appears. The spirits hinted that Zal's memory loss is not involuntary, that in some ways Zal's memory loss is not real. And I have to say, if it turns out to be true that Zal has misled this coterie into thinking she needs help and that she's being abused or exploited, and it turns out that she is none of the above, I wonder how upset this coterie will be. I wonder what the retaliation would be. I wonder if young Zhao will survive it. Now, what would the Giovanni be doing different than what they've done? The only thing Nicholas has been able to find out is that the Giovanni were onto something they felt could restore them to their former glory at the head of the family. You see, after the various clans of deaths united and unified, they pushed out many of the Giovanni who were used to being the head of everything. And the Giovanni have been looking for ways to reclaim that role. So apparently they thought they had a way to do it. Let's see. There's one thing I would bring up, but we're going to have to bring it up a little bit later. It has to do with the fall of Loden, but I think bringing it up now is a little premature compared to some other parts of it. Instead, we're going to discuss a meeting at a tea shop between Roscoe Akers and Carl Schreck. You see, the two of them discuss the trial in a little more detail. And Roscoe has no doubt that though Carl Schreck says the verdict is not predetermined, Carl Schreck would never call a conclave and a meeting of pontifexes unless he knew the results he wanted and the results he would get. Roscoe, whether I would say it was foolhardy, brave, or very shrewd, now this has yet to be seen, but he revealed to Carl Schreck that the neonate named Portia is not a neonate at all. And she is much older than that. And that she has undue influence in the chantry, that Abraham is compromised, and that Helen of Troy, the Methuselah, walks the city. I don't know whether that will help or hinder Roscoe's future, for Carl also explained to him that if Roscoe continues down the path he's on, if he continues to defy the pyramid and the Presidium, that he will have to be removed, because the clan needs strength and unity now, not divisiveness. And you know, when someone as Carl Schreck says removal, he's only meaning one kind. As Roscoe departed, he met someone I tend to not like to meet ever. Getting into a car was a man that many, I think, of our kind recognize, if not by sight, by reputation. Pontifex Maximilian Strauss happens to be in Chicago. So we have Carl Schreck. Carl has hinted just Car Ian Carfax is in town. Maximilian Strauss is in town. Roscoe Sire is coming. You have a very prestigious group of Tremere gathering. I would dare say that you haven't had this kind of a gathering since Vienna of high-ranking members. Where should we go? Well, I know that Jackie, Isabel, and Jenny finally went again out for the strip clubs. They spent the night at the Gazelle, a rather high-end VIP strip club, no less. And they found out Genghis has returned. It seems poor Genghis has been discarded by destiny, thrown away. She drug him out to L.A., grew tired of him. Had Nines Rodriguez teach him manners and then sent him home with his tail between his legs. And Genghis being Genghis, he has a things for toreadors with thorns. It appears he has now set his sights on Isabella. I will say, destiny was, well, she was a cat who liked to play with prey. Isabella, I would say Isabella is more of a mountain lion who doesn't play, just kills her prey. And Genghis should avoid pushing that angle. It's not going to end well. Isabella does not tolerate men who refuse to understand when a woman is not interested in him to leave her the fuck alone. I'm sure he'll learn at some point. It was that same night that Jackie finally ran into Nero again, too, as well. She found out something very interesting. Nero was acting somewhat different. Jackie has suspected for a while because he's being protected, he's somebody's agent. And it's clear that with that many Tremere in town, Nero's not acting like usual, almost as if his handlers were tinkering again. Where shall we go? So much to do in this timeline, in this discussion of the past, this sermon. Here's a very good thing to say. Never accept the first deal. You see, there's part of your past. Sovereign came back with Isabella with an offer for her to run that club. An offer that was obscenely greedy. I told you he was fork-tongued and cloven-hooved. one she would never accept, though she did negotiate something much easier. Where we mentioned Andre. Andre did show up in town finally. And when he showed up unexpected at the Coteries Club. And there ensued verbal sparring from Jackie and sparring and gaslighting from Andre, trying to, I don't know who he was trying to convince, whether he was trying to convince Antoine that Jackie abandoned him, Jackie that she abandoned him, or Jackie's friends that Jackie abandoned him. Either way, it was a discussion that involved him banging over and over the fact that she abandoned her kid, though we all know when you are embraced, you must cut ties to your mortal family. The penalty for not doing so is somebody finds out you still contact your mortal family, they destroy your family. So I don't think Jackie was impressed by his antics. Roscoe's sire, Pontifex, Helena Taylor, shows up in town, bringing some old friends of mine, of Jackie's. Waylon Smith, a toreador from D.C., and somebody who the coterie has yet to get full details on. Her name, she calls herself Misery. She seems to be quite miserable. And it was during a discussion with her that Waylon brought up a very specific name, the name of Marcus Vitale. And uncontrollably, when Vitale's name comes up, Misery embraced the shadows of the room and darkened them. It seems Misery is also a La Sombra, but she is one another who has a hatred of Vitale. I wonder why. I wonder what the coterie will find out. Because I know from Jackie's point of view, anyone who hates Marcus Vitale is a friend of Jackie's, especially if they can plan together to take him down one day. Oh, where can we go? Isabella and Honor took a night out on the town, and then they disappeared. Where did they go? Well, I'll discuss that in a minute, because while she was out on the town and disappeared, the rest of the coterie finally got to explore the pit to look for a picture of the night of the lupine attack when Baby Chorus was playing, and a woman that Damien loved, Sheriff Damien loved, fellow kindred, was destroyed and ashed in the lupine attack, was trying to find a picture and investigating what went on there, hopes for a lead. What they found, I think, was worse than a lead. What they found was horrifying in some ways. It seems there's a reason the lupine would have attacked there. And the reason is that it was a holy site. It was the word they use is cairn. It was a lupine cairn that Damien was playing in. And after the attack, a Tremere named Nikolai came in, and he set up wards to keep spirits out, keep spirits in, and keep the lupine out. Now, wards are interesting things. They don't last forever. But what this Tremere did is he took the spirit that infused the cairn, bound it to the wards, and is using the spirit to maintain the wards, to keep them active, to keep them powerful. So you have a holy site of the lupine with a spirit of the earth that the lupine worship being used to create a ward that destroys lupine that try to cross it, that contains and destroys spirits that touch it. You can see why the lupine may not be happy at that situation. And Roscoe found that nothing can be sustained forever. The wards are slowly failing. What happens when the ward finally breaks? Or the Cairn regain its power? Will it be dead? How will the Lupine react when they find out that the war drained everything that kept it? All the power, all the earth magic that was there. Powder keg waiting to go off, you could say. But they did find in the pit a camera left behind in a pile of bones. And the camera surprisingly had a picture of the woman that Damien was looking for. And because Damien wanted to remember what she looked like for his centuries to come. But on that camera was something even more important than that. Picture that showed the start of the Lupine attack with a single kindred at the back of the Lupine pack, directing them into the cairn. Pacific kindred by the name of Balthazar. Balthazar, who was sheriff to Prince Loden at the time. Think on that one. The sheriff of the Prince of Chicago led Lupine into a cairn to kill a band that for some reason was using the cairn as a concert hall. This was on the same night that Loden invites some of his biggest detractors and biggest enemies on the Primogen Council to his haven. Not as a Primogen meeting, but as an informal meeting, but dismisses his chief of security, Kevin Jackson, that night. And then the Lupine attack. It's a lot of coincidence there, isn't it? Almost as if Loden may have engineered this situation in the war in an attempt to remove Primogen. He couldn't, because Loden was very ineffectual. He had no real power. But what if a Lupine war starts, and the opening act of the Lupine war is to take out his biggest enemies on the Primogen Council? They fall while Loden survives defending them, attempting to save them. But his biggest enemies are gone. And then he also uses the Lupine to take out Damien, who was not sheriff, but he was a very powerful, in terms of generation, kindred, a threat to the future. Would the Prince of the Camarilla resort to that to regain power they lost? Well, Clan Ventru is known for being power hungry. And they are known for being unstable when they realize that they are failing and they are in danger of being obsolete in their own clan. I would even say, if that was the plan, it might have even worked. It might have succeeded had not Kevin Jackson that night realized something was up and returned to Loden's suite and tore the sword off the wall and earned his nickname the Paladin, defending the Primogen Council. Though oddly enough, he did not seem to defend Loden, for Loden supposedly died that night, which ushered in, after a time, Prince Peterson. And Jackson, who did not become prince after saving the members of the Primogen Council, he did gain more status and became more than just the security guy. And with Peterson's mismanagement, and the Primogen Council had looked towards a new prince, Jackson was in place. But Jackson, along with Peterson, did not want it revealed, this kind of stuff. What would happen if the city knew that Clan Ventru started the Lupine War? Clan Ventru had a prince willing to sacrifice, use Lupine to destroy his own Primogen Council. It would not be good for Ventru, especially after Peterson took over and was a horrible, horrible prince. Where shall we go here? Let's talk about Isabella disappearing. The coterie found out Isabella was taken. They did not know where. And so a hunt for Isabella kicked off. A hunt that led them to a building. A building where Thin Bloods were doing experiments, where they found a dissected body with musculature that was too dense, too specifically targeted in certain areas. An experiment of some kind using kindred blood to modify people, to make them better in some ways. It was there they found Honor and Isabella strapped to a chair, unconscious, which is odd, you see, because kindred you can't knock out drug a kindred. You can't roofie a kindred. You can't chloroform a kindred. We don't process fluids. But somehow these people created something that rendered them unconscious. And while rescuing Isabella, Nicholas found out that his sister is tied to Isabella in many ways at this point, because what helped them in their raid was not his sister spirit. It was the shadow that lives within her, very dark being. It's also where they met a man in black who seemed to toy with them in a sword fight. A man who fought quite well, but let's be fair. Jenny the Pooh, Jackie, and the ghouls, it's tough for any one kindred to fight that. Sheer numbers. And a bear. Did I mention bear? But in the fight, Jackie managed to shatter her sword that was her father's. The Viscount shattered his. And I say Viscount because shortly thereafter, Jackie spoke with Arjun Shaw about why somebody was using Mithraic power against her. And Arjun Shaw related about a Viscount d'Arlincourt, a Toreador, who considers his art form combat. A mercenary, sellsword, as he prefers to be called. He will do any job for a price. Very professional about the job is the job. He completes it. Thankfully, the job he had for there was to, as he told Jackie, abduct Honor, not anything with Isabella. Isabella was a useful bonus, I guess. And as Isabella and Honor were retrieved from this place, the coterie found that even by feeding them blood more potent than they had, they would not wake. Whatever these Thin Bloods did were keeping them asleep. And while waiting for a wake, Jackie spoke to Arjun, of course. Jackie also found out the progress of her impending praxis that she has said she is going to call in Milwaukee. Nicholas waited. And then after Jackie showed him the pictures, took the pictures to Damien that he wanted. And then, of course, revealed that Balthazar was behind it. What is going to happen with a stormed off Bruja who seems to think Balthazar got his lady killed? You see, for one, those who recognize the signs of it, what you see in Damien, the way he acts about his baby chorus, you see a kindred with survivor's guilt. And now he has a target for who caused the death of those who gave him survivor's guilt. What can we say about the Viscount? Well, Jackie had a lovely dance with him in Elysia. He explained to her it was nothing personal. He holds no ill will. He was upset about the broken sword. It was a gift from Napoleon. But it was part of the business. Jackie spoke with the prince. And Jackie, being Jackie is very odd sometimes. She revealed to the prince what she found, the picture of Balthazar. Wanted to know why it was all hidden. And Jackson explained to her that if it comes out that Loden was behind the Lupine War that caused many kindreds' death in Chicago, Loden was behind trying to kill his own primogen the way he did. It would be a problem. And then Peterson covers it up rather than reveal it. And now Jackson covered it up. It would be devastating to Chicago, to the status of Venture in Chicago. Loden not dying on top of it all makes it even worse. Loden not only did it, but got away with it. He's not dead. He's still running the city. Prince Jackson told Jackie for the good of the clan to suppress the information, to hide it. Now, I know for a fact Jackie doesn't agree with that. Jackie does not believe in, how can we explain it? I do not feel Jackie believes that you should protect incompetence for the good of the clan. For the good of Clan Ventru is, if you are incompetent, if you are a traitor, you purge them, replace them with those who are not incompetent, those who are not traitors. But it was what it was. And it's a little late anyway, because Nicholas has already showed Damien who it was. Let's see. Isabella does finally wake, as does Honor. Took a few days, something to do with the drugs the Thin Bloods gave them. Injected, apparently, through a needle of some kind. But when Honor wakes, it is there the coterie confronts her about being bloodbound to a Setite named Keisha. And though Honor denies it, Jenny got to the bottom of it. Jenny, who, the businesswoman, she understands what it means to be free will, make your own choices, your own decisions. And the fact that Honor refuses to admit to herself, is lying to herself about the bond, caused Jenny to, well, exert dominance in a way to make sure that Honor understands that she's the cur in this relationship. She is not running a pack. And I'm surprised Honor did not frenzy. But now they have a problem of she's bound, and how do they deal with it? Jenny, needing to blow off steam, leaves the place, heads out to go see the House of Leather to speak with Azule. But on the way, she runs into somebody who cannot be, somebody who does not exist, somebody who's dead, somebody she has not seen since her own embrace. Her sister, who should be long since dead as a mortal, appeared to be in Chicago, though Jenny didn't get a good enough look to be sure, and though she pursued her, could not quite catch up to her. So as Jackie returns from Elysia, Jenny comes back from dealing with seeing her sister. Roscoe and Isabella are at the club. Nicholas is coming back from meeting with Damien. Isabella gets a message, very odd message. It's written on glass, on a mirror, hazed over and steamy. There's a message about revenge and a simple line of, "You owe me a building." And the viewers may ask, why would Isabella owe a building? And it seems Jackie has a departing gift for this Thin Blood capture operation. Had Peter used the rest of Lamar's C4 to attempt to blow up or otherwise completely destroy as much of the building as they could. So Isabella at the club gets a message that you owe me a building. Roscoe gets a vision saying to run. And as they sit and debate what it means to have to run and which building, Jenny comes in, hears it. Jenny does not debate. Jenny does not question which building it would be. Jenny just shifts to bear form and rushes to get people out of their club. Unfortunately, the delay was a little long because as Jackie pulled up in her car out front and Isabella and Roscoe and Nicholas tried to get Honor out of the building through the safe tunnels that they have under the building, and Jenny tried to use bear form to scare the kind out of the club, somebody ran up to the front door and detonated a bomb. That is where we end this particular discussion. Though I do have one small hint. It seems the trial of Sun Chi is about to begin. They have finally finished their relations. They have finished their preparations. I would expect the trial of Sun Chi to be resolved before the coterie meets up again. So poor Roscoe will have to deal with the aftermath of their club bombed. Payback, you might say, for blowing up a building, rescuing Isabella. Roscoe is going to have to deal with the Sun Chi issue in a trial. So, now, we are caught up to current. I've done that sermon. I have a question for you all. Is there any sermons you would like Brother Twitch to do while I am here? I am trying not to preach fire and brimstone. I can talk to you about the error of your ways. I can discuss to you about the error of coming to speak with me at all. You see. Because we are cursed to drink blood to sustain ourselves. So, here's your chance to ask Father or Brother Twitch what he knows of what is coming, what he knows of what's going on, and what is to come up next. Feel free to ask. And if you don't have questions, that is fine. I won't reveal all the good spoilers I have. You see, the Alistairs have not taken out Tally. That is the question. Why have the Alistairs taken out Tally? Because Tally he's a very shrewd kindred. Do you realize in all of his time as a kindred, he has not done enough things to make the red list? It is not killing a Justicar or an Archon is not in and of itself enough to get put on the infamous red list. No, you have to do truly heinous things. Tally has walked that line. Yes, he kills people that are important, but not once has he done it in a way that requires full intervention. You see? I'm sure Jackie would love to eventually become an Alistair just to edit his name onto the list. Or you might even say put him on the top of the list. But, as I said, it is what that is. What other questions do we have? Oh, a breach of the Masquerade gets you blood hunted. And Tally, let's be clear, is blood hunted in many cities. Most cities. Just by factor of his. But he's also a man owed very many favors. And even blood hunted, he has met with Fiorenza. He has met with many princes of the city. Many cities. He is an oddity in that. So, where else can we go? We could talk about what I see coming down in the future. Gift of prophecy has never been my thing. The one that I relied on for it is gone now. But I can make guesses about what's coming. Ideas of things coming up. Let's see. Who is behind all the cursed items from Benway? You see, that is a very interesting question. You see, I see the cursed items as they come through the city. It's hard not to. One thing that I'm good at. You ask, how do I know these things? My skill lies in the web. I read the web. And I'm not talking the internet. I'm talking a different kind of web. The cursed items come from someone who is sleeping and should remain asleep. But someone else who also has a vendetta to score. You see? Or a score to settle, a vendetta to end. And it's funny if it's being sent to a Toreador antique dealer. There's a vendetta to be paid. The indiscriminate method of the repayment seems to be a problem now, doesn't it? But I'm sure eventually they'll hit the one they aim for. Oh, trust me. Maximilian Strauss is in the city. Maximilian Strauss will be at the trial of Sun Chi, as will Carl Streck, Ian Carfax. I'm sure Victor will be there as well. Pontifex Helena Taylor. And a few other pontifexes that may surprise you. They have not restrained themselves from bringing, I dare say, the more powerful of the Tremere currently walking, at least those who follow the traditionalists. I'm sure Karna will not be there herself or send an overt representative, though I have heard rumor that Tracy Graves will even be attending, not as a voting member of the trial, but will be present because she has a vested interest in Sun Chi. You see, there's a theme with today's sermon from Brother Twitch. Where will the trial? You see, the congregation is trying to get all the information out. The trial will be held in a very safe place, but a safe place that only Tremere can get into. You see, some new steps are being taken due to an interloper in the Tremere Chantry, a way to keep the unwanted out, at least those not of Clan Tremere. You shall see what it is when the time comes. And there was a theme to today's sermon, though, as I was saying. The theme was the past, looking back at the past. And though Brother Twitch has been around a long time, in many forms, this one was my original self, if such a thing can be said. This was my first mask. This was my first existence. Find it odd that I have gone that far back. But perhaps there's a reason. Maybe there's a story to be told. In the days of my youth, maybe a story will be told about the days of my youth. We shall see, won't we? I guess that could be a spoiler of some kinds. But if we have no other questions, we can get down to the slaughter. I can stay in the shadow and feast on you all. I guess it will be time to run, as Shanky does the outro. Of course. Thank you, everyone, for coming out to A Night with Your Boy Twitch as I went through the Season 8 summary. It was one hell of a season. and I do thank my players for it. There were some ups and downs and some dangers in there. Of course, I covered the high points, but there's a lot of things that I missed that I did not cover. And of course, you should watch them. Go back and watch the season 8 or watch all the other episodes. Matter of fact, why don't you just go to our YouTube channel and watch all of our back episodes? They're right there on YouTube. You can catch all the Windy Cities. You can catch our Mage, Werewolf, Demon the Fallen, which those who watched our movie trailer reel sees. Demon the Fallen is returning. Season 2 starts. Coming up. If you want to join us on the Discord, we cast the Windy City main season. Actually, we cast all of our shows from the Discord. All of the streams you see on our channel have been cast by members of our Discord. We will either post up casting calls. Sometimes we just whoever's running a game picks players, but this Discord is where we get all of our players from. We do weekly hangouts. We do talking about games. We do all kinds of cool things. It's a great place to go. You really should join us on our Discord. It is a chance to hang out with people who talk about role-playing games. We've got some amazing people that just hang out, ask questions about all the splats, other games. We try to be supportive. So join us on the Discord. It's a great place. If you want to catch some amazing content creators, we've got nope, that's not the right command. We've got a list of friends that these are people we support, people that not only stream great content, but also like to share the love and pass the support back. It's just a thing. RPG Table, that's Junie. She will be Tracy Graves in the Sun Chi trial. She does Vampire. You got Revenus Archon. He does Werewolf and Vampire and Legend of the Five Rings and D&D. You've got Mischievous Red. She streams a variety of games. It's fun watching her play horror games where she jumps like 3 feet. And then, of course, you got the Ivy Raven. She's a VTuber who streams Destiny, sometimes WoW, and just chats about whatever. Snark Queen. Great to just hang out with and have her talk. So seriously, do that. You want to get some Windy City merch? You even have merch of? Really? You even have merch of your boy Twitch. There is a mug that has my picture, that has your boy Twitch drawn by somebody. There is posters, Can't Wish a Motherfucker Would, t-shirts. At some point, we'll have a hit list if the hit list ever stops getting added to constantly. So, check the merch store. Make sure you sign into Zazzle. The stuff that has like Can't Wish a Motherfucker Would, that is adult. And so you have to be over 18 to see it. Otherwise, they don't list it in the store. The hit list is a living document. Yes, it is. And if you want to support the studio, bits and donations, they usually go to a player over stream. But since I'm the only one in the stream, bits and donations, they go to me. You want to support the studio, subscribe on YouTube, goes to the studio. You can go to our KoFi. That's where you can give to the studio. We had some talks on the Discord about, do we have a Patreon? Well, no. McStabber Studios does not have a Patreon. We do not believe in locking any of our content behind a paywall. So we don't have a Patreon where you can sign up to get, behind the scenes stuff. No, we share all of that. Our Zoom chats are not locked behind paywalls. We chat with people all the time on the Discord. But based on a joke that started on Friday, if we did start a Patreon, it would have to be so you could get a 1 inch by 1 inch section of carpet in McStabber Studio so that you could have the title Carpet Lord. Just so you know. Please note, as a disclaimer, you don't actually get to own any carpet in our house. That is, can be revoked at any time. Please have a nice day. Let's see. I think I covered everything scheduled this week. Schedule. Well, schedule's pretty easy. Tis, we'll be back with Call of Cthulhu at this Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Or not 8 p.m., sorry, 3 p.m. Eastern. She's back with Call of Cthulhu. London Esoteric Society. Victorian Age, bunch of damn investigators. They've already lost one character completely insane. Other characters keep having to take breaks because they're going insane. It is a fun story told by the amazing DM Tiss, or Keeper Tiss, of Victorian era investigators reading all the books, doing all the sus shit, doing exactly what you're not supposed to. One of them, even keeping the cursed Eldritch jewelry. I mean, come on, people. It's a great story. And if next Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern, get ready for the Windy City Season 8 intermission. The title is The Trial of Sun Chi. You will get to see a meeting of the Tremere as they decide not only the fate of Sun Chi, but possibly how to deal with some other wayward Tremere. You don't want to miss it. And though our intermissions are not the prime story, the intermissions fill in a lot of things. So you don't want to miss that, because going into season 9, I'm sure whatever events happen during this intermission are going to play a role in it. So please make sure you do that. And so everyone is aware, returning December 13th, Demon the Road to Hell, season 2. We start that December 13th. Be ready for it. We've got some cast changes, like I said was going to happen. You'll see some returning faces you remember, plus some new demons have come to join the table with them. And we are going to be back to 1999 Chicago as the red star is in the sky. So get ready for some fun with Demon. You'll get to see the first episode is going to show you what was happening between seasons and show you some new possession scenes of some new cast members. So you don't want to miss that. I will say that there is potential for very triggering scenes during the possession parts. We will make sure we give ample warning about what will be covered, so that if you feel it is a bit too much to you, you can mute the screen, step away, whatever you have to do. Because we love sharing stories, but we don't want to traumatize people. We're very aware of that. So let's see. What else do we have left after this? I guess now I can do my final part, which is we here at McStabber Studios, we take mental health very seriously. Please check in on family, check in on friends, check on loved ones. Make sure they're okay. Because a lot of people are not okay right now. And they need a lifeline. They need a helping hand. Somebody just to reach out and say, are you okay? Because people, it's tough. And you may not realize some of the people you know are struggling because they put on a face to hide it. I know from experience, you can hide it very well. But unless you ask, unless you reach out to them, you won't know. So please do this. And if you suffer from mental health issues, like many of us do, myself included, first of all, it's okay to not be okay. There's nothing wrong with admitting you're struggling, you need help, you're not in a good place, because sometimes you're not. Reach out to those around you, please. And if you can't, because I know there's a stigma that should not be there when it comes to mental health. It shouldn't be there, but it's there. And until we can change it, you have to deal with that. In text and chat, there's a list of numbers you can call or text 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And there'll be professionals on the other end of the line who will help you, who want to talk to you and want to work through it. We take this very seriously at our channel. We really understand it's tough on people, and we want people to get the help they need, and we want everyone to take care of themselves. Take some time, put it aside for self-care. Self-care does not mean doing stuff for other people. It means taking care of yourself. Do that too, okay? And if you're one of our viewers that live in Georgia, please make sure you get out and vote. The voting for the runoff starts on Tuesday, and one of them, though I am a pagan, he is a reverend in a church with a long history of doing good things. And the other one lives in Texas, claims he lives in Georgia, pathological liar, held a gun to his wife's head, aborts multiple fetuses while claiming he's pro-life. Look, it's not even a close choice. Shouldn't be. So please, if you're in Georgia, vote. Do the right thing. And of course, as my wife is not here to say it, please get your COVID shots, get your boosters, get your flu vaccine booster, polio boosters, get all your damn shots. There's a lot of diseases raising their ugly head. We need to stop them from spreading. Polio shouldn't be coming back, people. God damn it. That's horrible. And fuck the Iranian government. What's being done there is a travesty of human rights. Fuck Putin, because last I heard he's still in Ukraine. fuck him with a spiked dildo bat. And of course, a thank you to the community. I've been injured, spent a number of weeks injured. 5 of the last 7 weeks I was injured. And I appreciate the community being patient while I had to take a week off and we had to bump our schedule. And I do appreciate that. And I know Mama McStabber and I both love our community and how supportive everybody is. So I just wanted to say thank you to our community for the people that's there. And of course, a big thank you to Mama McStabber, who during the time I was injured and unable to do anything, she powered through it by keeping me company on the couch as I was, miserable. She joined me in my misery. So a big thank you to my wife for that too. So I'm going to close it out now, everybody. Please don't be an abuser. Be a good person. And I hope to see you next time. Hope to see you for the intermission. And I sure as hope to see you for Demon Season 2 and whatever else we have to come. Good night, everybody.